Hey folks, see if you've ever had this problem. You're trying to eat a little healthier, but you're in the grocery store aisle, you're looking at packaging, nutrition labels, and they're so confusing, you don't know what's good for you and what's not. Well, this is why I love Thrive Market, my go-to online grocery store for getting all of my healthy essentials delivered, and I don't even have to leave my couch. Finding better options for the whole family is easy with Thrive Market's Healthy Swap Scanner. Just scan a product and it instantly recommends healthier swaps. This is how my wife and I found our new favorite snack, IQ bars. Sometimes I eat one in the morning with my coffee, sometimes just later on in between meals. They also have so many on-site filters that make it simple to shop by the needs of everyone in the family. Maybe you have someone who needs gluten-free food, somebody that has a peanut allergy. Well, no more scouring ingredient labels when you can just filter it all on Thrive Market. My wife and I often use the high protein filter to stock up on things like Sieti chips. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/TCAT for 30% off your first order, plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/TCATT. thrivemarket.com/TCAT. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 348 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing go.
You want to try that again?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm not cutting it out, so go ahead.
I don't know why it dragged out like that. Hey, I'm doing okay. Obviously, besides my whatever that was.
Yeah. So you and I just got done doing our weekly Patreon thing, and you were on fire.
Yeah.
It was interesting, to say the least. So if you're a Patreon member and you haven't either watched or listened to what came out on Saturday, definitely do it, because Gibby was he was on fire for sure. And I also talked about my daughter going to the cadaver lab.
Yeah, and big balls.
And yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had I Am Sophie Loren.
Hey, Sophie.
Shannon in San Diego.
What's up, Shannon?
DC Smith.
Hey, DC.
Meg Klingman.
Gotta have a Klingman.
David Thorne.
Hey, David.
Dara Jordan.
What's up, Dara?
Maria Johansdotter.
It's always fun to say.
Yeah.
Johansdotter.
Jumped out at our highest level.
Yeah, thank you.
Tanya Robinson.
Hey, Tanya.
Jessica Lasowski.
Lasowski.
Catherine Gallup.
What's going on, Catherine?
Nancy Trujillo.
I like that. Trujillo.
I know, it's fun to say.
Yeah. Wonder like a Danny Trujillo.
Yeah.
Famous actor. Like he's like, must have been in like 5,000 movies.
He's been in a lot.
Yeah.
Did you know he was like in prison? And I think he was just on the set doing something. They said, hey, we want you to play this part or try this part. Something like that. And that's how he became an actor.
Really?
Yeah.
He's in everything, I think.
Yeah. Spring Pierce jumped out at our highest level.
I love that name, Spring. Thank you.
Lauren Gilmore.
Hey, Lauren.
And Jay Kelly.
What's going on, Jay?
So we appreciate that new support. And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected James Rose.
Look at James hanging with us all this time.
Yeah, appreciate the long-term Patreon support for sure. And we had a couple of great PayPal donations from David Regan.
Hey, David.
And Matthew Wayland.
What's going on, Wayland?
Yeah, so thanks to everyone. Gibbs, right now on True Crime All the Time Unsolved, we have an episode out on Elizabeth Salgado. This was a 26-year-old woman who traveled from Mexico to Utah to attend a language school, and less than a month after she got to the States, she went missing.
It's an interesting story. By the way, she does not look 26. She looks like she's maybe 18.
Looks very young.
Very young for her age, but it's a tragic story. We'll dive into it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. Check it out. Let us know what you think. All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I am so ready.
We are talking about Maliek Kearney. Karlyn Ramirez, a young mother and a member of the U.S. Army, was found dead in her home in August 2015. Karlyn's husband, Maliek Kearney, who was also in the military, was stationed at a base states away and appeared to have a pretty solid alibi. But investigators discovered that he plotted to kill Karlyn because she wanted to end the marriage.
Because, when you want out of a marriage, instead of just getting a divorce and ending it that way, let's just go kill my partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And divorces happen all the time.
They do.
They're not easy.
They're not.
In fact, they're very difficult. I think what we often see is that, especially when men kill their wives, most of the time it's just out of pure greed. They don't want to give up money, or, it can be because they don't want to let the person go. There are a number of different reasons for it. But at the end of the day, none of them make sense.
No. I mean, if you want out, go to the attorney and get out. Because what do we always find out? They do this, they end up getting caught, and now you go to prison for the rest of your life or some time.
A long period of time. So Karlyn Ramirez was born on April 10th, 1991. She grew up in Del Rio, Texas. She enjoyed hunting and riding horses. She was also an athlete and participated in volleyball, basketball, and cross country. Her mother, Susan Ramirez, told the Maryland Gazette she was a risk taker. She really didn't have any fear.
Like me.
Well, a lot of this, the volleyball, the cross country, a lot of it sounds like you. Now, if I was describing my daughters, I wouldn't exactly use that phrase.
Right.
They're not no fear types. They'll take on and tackle a lot of things, but there might be some trepidation.
Yeah.
They're not going to just run headfirst into it. They're overthinkers. They like to analyze things.
I think my daughter's kind of like your daughters, but my son's different,
Mm-hmm.
But
he just kind of goes for it, doesn't he?
He does. And he has this like no pain threshold too. So, I mean, just the other...
How do you know that?
Yeah. All those years.
That doesn't make you sound good.
But even just the other night, he called me and said, hey, Dad, what do you think about this thing on my elbow? And he sent me a picture, and he was telling me that him and his girlfriend were coming back with a pizza from the pizza place, and because that's where you get pizza, from the pizza place.
from the fried chicken place.
Yeah. So he had it up in his hand, and they couldn't wait to get back to his apartment to eat it. And somehow he tripped on something. He gets that from me. And when he fell, he saved the pizza though. But by saving the pizza, he ripped his elbow open, and he sent this picture to me, which was disgusting. It was all pussy and.
Mm-hmm. But he contacted you because you're a doctor.
Because I'm a doctor at a young age, and he wanted to know what should he do. Of course, I'm like, you should go seek medical attention, but I knew he wouldn't. So I'm like, well, if you're not going to go seek medical attention, then go ahead and buy a big thing of hydrogen peroxide, dump it all over it, and allow it to dry out, and
go from there.
I
don't know what's funnier, the way you just said hydrogen peroxide, or the fact that anyone would take their medical advice from you. Oh, both of them kind of cracked me up. Karlyn graduated high school in 2009. She attended the University of Houston and studied criminal justice. About 3 years into her degree, she decided she wanted to join the Army. So Karlyn joined the Army in February 2013. She was assigned to several bases, including Camp Humphreys in South Korea.
Wow. Now, you hear a lot of people will join the service before college.
To get their college paid for.
Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've heard a lot of people that join after being in college or university for 3 years. So it's unique, I think, for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless you had that going in, right, and you took ROTC or some version of that in college with the notion that once you joined, you would be a higher rank, I guess, because you had a degree.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I'm assuming.
I don't know. I think I would go in as a higher rank anyway because I'm really good at Battleship, the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But think about, growing up in Del Rio, Texas.
Yeah.
And then finding yourself in South Korea. Now,
Different.
You're on a base. So you're somewhat insulated, but you talk about two different worlds.
Talk about different foods too, right?
I assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was at Camp Humphreys that she met Maliek Kearney, an Army Sergeant First Class. Maliek enlisted in the Army in 2000. According to the Army Times, Kearney worked as a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear specialist.
I wonder if that's like typed out on his
fatigue.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I can see you searching for the.
That's a lot of things to be a specialist in.
Yeah, I don't know that all of that is listed on what you wear, but it is a lot, right? Chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear. Throughout his career, he earned numerous awards, including Army Commendation Medals, Good Conduct Medals, Campaign Stars, and the Global War on Terror Expeditionary Medal. So sounds like he was a pretty good soldier.
Yeah, very decorated.
Very decorated. According to her sister, Roxana Ramirez, Karlyn fell completely head over heels for Maliek. However, she was Maliek's subordinate, and this type of relationship is frowned upon in the Army, according to a prosecutor, and it kind of is in most places.
I think some companies today probably have a no fraternizing or whatever you want to call it policy.
Well, I think most companies probably have something in place where the boss is prohibited from a romantic relationship with a subordinate. Now, can you date a coworker on your same level? I think at most places you probably can.
Yeah, probably.
Some places might have some regulation against that, but I would say most places are not cool with you dating your boss because number one, there's going to be favoritism.
Sure.
And I think number two, it opens up the possibility for, that relationship to go sour and some type of litigation down the road. Kind of thinking about The Office when Michael was dating Jan and they had to sign that contract and all of that, basically saying that he gave up all his rights and that if the relationship went bad, he couldn't sue Dunder Mifflin.
Right. Missed that show.
You can watch it on Peacock anytime you want.
I don't have Peacock. That costs money.
Oh, that's true. I'm sure on one channel, it's on like every day or one day a week. They probably show a marathon. Karlyn got pregnant months after they started dating. And it was said that she was excited to have a baby because she had survived cervical cancer and was told she would probably not be able to have children. So I get that. If you think there's a really good chance that, because remember, she's still pretty young.
Right. Yeah.
That you're never going to be able to have children and then you conceive, I would think you'd be over the moon.
Yeah, I think so too. Because you didn't expect it. You didn't think it was going to happen.
No, and on top of that, she's in love with this great guy, head over heels, right?
Yeah.
According to people who knew her, 2 weeks before Karlyn was scheduled to come home, she was offered a job with the National Security Agency, the NSA.
I'm not allowed to talk about that.
I was going to say that now we're getting into your kind of area of expertise.
Right.
And I know there are certain things you can and cannot talk about, especially when it comes to all the 3-letter agencies with which you're involved.
I did sign that non-disclosure.
Yeah. Or NDA.
Yeah.
Yep. She was stationed at Fort Meade in Maryland. Karlyn moved to Fort Meade in 2015. She was a private first class and information technology specialist with Fort Meade's 742nd Military Intelligence Battalion. Now, I've never been in the military.
No.
So a lot of this stuff is a little bit foreign to me. When you think of a regiment, a battalion, all these different ranks. I get confused, man. I don't know what's higher than, I get colonel, major, general. I understand all that.
Right.
But there's a whole bunch of them down
In
to
between?
like private first class and all kinds in between.
Are you thinking, I wonder if there was 741 battalions before this one?
Maybe. I don't know. Or did they just come up with a number? Catalia Vale Kearney was born in April of that year. Karlyn and Maliek got married a few months later. So Maliek was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Basically, he and Karlyn were apart most of the time, according to retired Sergeant First Class Leroy McDaniels. They got married because of their rankings, and they had to, quote, put something on paper because it was not allowed anymore.
Okay, so they had to get married to be okay in the eyes of the government, because if they didn't put that on paper, it sounds like at that time, I don't know if it still exists.
I'm sure it does. They were violating some rule.
Exactly. I mean, most people get married because they love each other and they want to go through that ceremony. But if you need to do it for other reasons, I guess that happens.
But you're assuming that they didn't love each other.
No.
Maybe they did it for both reasons.
I think people love each other, and sometimes they just don't want to get married. Nothing wrong with that. You can love somebody and not want to be married.
You can?
Yes.
You are making a lot of assumptions in this case. Yeah, no, we don't know for sure. But I agree with you there. You can love someone and not want to get married. But I want to talk about being away from your spouse and your newborn child.
I think it'd be rough, man.
It'd be very hard. I remember right after my wife and I first got married, my job transferred me to like third shift.
Yeah.
And we just hardly ever saw each other. It was so tough for about 6 months, I think it was. But we still lived in the same house. I mean, they're in different states.
It'd be tough not seeing both of them, but especially that newborn, It's like, oh my gosh.
You want to get that newborn smell.
Absolutely.
Somebody sent me a picture through email of baby Gibby.
Oh, yeah?
They were joking. They didn't actually name the baby Gibby, but just the cutest little baby. And I just wanted to reach through the picture and hold him and just smell the top of his head. You get that baby smell?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They should have named it Baby Gibby, though.
Well, remember the person who called in and didn't have anyone else to tell that she was pregnant?
Oh, okay.
That's that person.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah. Big shout out to baby Theodore.
AKA Gibby.
AKA Gibby. It was said that Karlyn and Maliek had only been married for 5 weeks at the time of her murder, and they had never lived together. So I think we'll have to talk about that as we go through the episode and how it plays into what ultimately happens and the decisions that Maliek makes. Karlyn's sister, Roxana, lived with her for a few months because she was lonely. But then Roxana later moved back to Texas. At the time of her death, Karlyn was living with a woman named Marissa, who was also a young mother.
Well, you know what? You need support. When you have those young ones, it's good to have support around you. Other people going through similar things, and you can rely on each other for emotional support.
Yeah, I think I've said it before, but when my wife and I had kids, we were very, very lucky to have not only her family, but my family all kind of living close.
Yeah.
We had such a network of support, and I think it would have been really difficult for us if we would have, been living far away, many states away from, all of our family. Now, I think one important thing to talk about is that the marriage experienced problems very early on. And it's something that we hear quite often. After just 2 weeks of marriage, Maliek drove to Maryland to try to reconcile, but Karlyn obtained a protective order that prohibited him from contacting her. So I think you get the picture of not just experiencing problems. I mean, these are major problems.
It's huge, right? I mean, only 2 weeks after you got married? Not looking good.
No, and now I'm starting to think some of your assumptions are a little more on the mark.
Yeah.
Was she head over heels in love with him at one point? Yes, we know that because
she told
people that.
Right.
We don't know his feelings on the matter, but could it have been that even at the time they got married, things weren't going all that well, but they really had no choice because of their ranks and their positions in the military, that they basically had to, as the one guy put it, put something on paper.
Right. This is what we have to do to protect our jobs.
On August 25th, 2015, 24-year-old Karlyn Ramirez was found shot to death in her townhouse in Severn, Maryland. Her roommate was out of the state at this time. Karlyn was found in the upstairs bedroom of her home. Someone put a gun against her body and fired 3 shots, 1 in her side and 2 in her chest. And Karlyn's 4-month-old baby was found unharmed next to her body. At first, patrol officers thought the baby had been killed, but apparently she was just sleeping.
What an unbelievable sight for an officer to come across.
Yeah, because, it was described that Karlyn wasn't wearing pants and her underwear was pulled down around her ankles. She had some bruising and scratches, but her autopsy found that she was not sexually assaulted. There were no signs of forced entry or robbery in the townhouse. The murder weapon was missing, not found at the scene.
So you wonder why the body was found the way it was, right? With her underwear pulled down below her knees. Makes you wonder, were they trying to set it up to make it look like she might have been assaulted?
Yeah, I definitely get where you're going, because if there's no forced entry, there's no robbery,
right,
and it was determined there was no sexual assault, then I think you start to believe that maybe that part was set up or staged
to try to throw somebody off,
to make it seem as though this was a sexual assault that ended in murder. Don't let allergy season slow you down. Get common allergy meds for as little as $15 with GoodRx. So you and your family, pets included, can stop allergy symptoms before they start. GoodRx is free and easy to use. Just search for your prescription on the website or the app, compare prices, and get a free coupon to show your pharmacist. Save at over 70,000 local pharmacies nationwide, including Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Publix, Kroger, and many more. Check GoodRx before every trip to the pharmacy to save up to 80% on both brand and generic medications. And did you know GoodRx rewards you for saving money too? Join GoodRx Rewards today and earn points every time you use a coupon. Remember, GoodRx is not insurance, but works whether you have insurance or not. And it could be your insurance copay price. I've been using GoodRx for years, and I can't tell you how many times I have saved money even with my insurance. Stop allergies before they start and save big on allergy medications this season with GoodRx. Go to goodrx.com/TCAT. That's goodrx.com/TCATT. Once the temps start rising, I realized I was back in the same worn out rotation. Same tank, same shorts, same everything. So I gave my daily uniform an upgrade with Quince. Their pieces are easy, elevated, and somehow make me feel more put together without even trying. Like they're 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30. Luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. The best part, everything with Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than what you'd find at similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I'm getting ready to stock up on shorts for summer from Quince, and I know they're going to be amazing because everything I've ordered has been of the highest quality, and the prices are amazing. Treat your closet to a little summer glow up with Quince. Go to quince.com/TCAT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TCATT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCAT.
Want to pull off the season's freshest trends? You just need the right shoes. That's where Designer Shoe Warehouse comes in. Loving wide leg jeans? Pair them with sleek, low-profile sneakers. Obsessed with the sheer trend? Try it with mesh flats. Feeling boho? Comfy sandals nail the whole free-spirited thing. Find on-trend shoes from the brands you love, like Birkenstock, Nike, Adidas, and more at DSW.
Maintenance workers called the police that morning after they saw two dogs running loose through the community. The workers tried to catch one of the dogs, but it ran through an open glass door. The workers went to the front of the unit and received no answer, so they called the police. A neighbor who asked not to be identified told the Maryland Gazette that her husband was out walking around 6 a.m. that morning and a small dog kept following him. The dog scratched his leg and then ran towards Karlyn's apartment unit. The dog ran back and forth between the man and the unit. He felt as though the dog was asking for help. He knocked on the door next to Karlyn's unit, but the resident said it wasn't their dog. He didn't try the next door, Karlyn's unit, because he needed to go home to help his child get ready for school.
Wow, man, dogs are amazing. Their ability to sense and try to do something.
Yeah, they really are. We've talked about it so many times, how fascinating and amazing dogs are. And then at the same time, my small Maltese can't find her bone, even though I threw it like 3 feet away from her.
Right.
She's looking all over the place, can't find it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if it's just some dogs or if it's in a situation such as this,
right,
that it brings out certain aspects or behaviors in a dog. I don't want anybody to think that my dog is not smart. She is.
Okay.
That's why we named her Gibby.
But what about this guy? You know, he's going out for a walk and this dog keeps coming up to him and running back and forth. And if he went to a different door, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah. I mean, my assumption is he wouldn't have received an answer and probably would have left anyway. But I don't know what you think. You think, okay, this dog's out. He's being playful. He or she is being playful. I don't think you jump necessarily to, Timmy stuck in a well.
Right.
Type of deal like with Lassie. Now, maybe his mind went there, but I doubt it because he left and
probably just thought the dog got out, trying to go back home. Nobody will let him in. Oh,
he can't let him in because,
right,
obviously all he can do is knock. Karlyn called her mother and sister hours before she was killed. Roxanne, Karlyn's sister, told Crime Watch Daily. She said, "I don't know what is wrong. I don't feel right. I don't feel safe. Do you think my baby knows I love her?" I'm like, why are you talking like this? What happened? And Karlyn said, "I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know." So that's a very strange conversation between two sisters. Starts off with something's wrong. I don't feel right. I don't feel safe. Okay, right off the bat, that's alarming.
It is.
Why do you not feel safe? What is wrong?
She's got that internal feelings, like something's going on here.
But when asked about it, she can't verbalize it.
Yeah.
She says, I don't know.
But I think people get that sometimes, right? You can tell on the inside, there's just something wrong with this situation or something doesn't feel right. But you can't put your hand on it, but you just know something's wrong.
Yeah, I do believe in intuition to some degree.
Yeah.
I think some people, I'm not throwing the word psychic around, but I do feel as though there are people who get intuitions. Yeah. And, I've always kind of thought, well, listen to those. If you think something's not right, get the heck out of whatever situation you're in. That's more of a safety type thing.
Your wife gets those.
She does.
Yeah. She's like, I can tell Gibby's coming over and not going to pay for dinner again.
She gets that every week.
Yeah.
Karlyn's mother, Susan, told True Crime Daily, she told me she was having a panic attack. And I said, "Karlyn, what's wrong?" And she said, "I can't discuss it. It's nothing I can discuss with you." And so her mother automatically thought, well, it must be work.
Oh, because she's with the NSA.
Yeah, it's confidential. I can't discuss it.
But maybe it was about her relationship at the time and not work.
And yeah, it had nothing to do with work. But you could see why her mother maybe would brush that off, thinking, well, she works with classified information, this and that. So I get it. She can't talk about it. It must be work. Now, with most of us, that answer wouldn't fly.
You keep pushing.
Yeah,
pressing.
because there's no reason why, I can't call my mom and say, all of these things are going wrong, but I can't talk to you about it.
Yeah.
I have nothing confidential.
That's not going to work.
But yeah, podcasting is not confidential. Roxanne couldn't sleep that night, so she texted Karlyn. Her phone indicated that she read the text, but she didn't reply. Susan called Karlyn several times and she didn't answer. I like that function of knowing when someone has read my text.
Yeah.
What I don't like is when they don't reply, because I already know you read it and now you're not replying to me.
Why are you looking directly at me about
I'm
that?
looking at you. I'm also talking directly to my daughters if they're listening. That really bugs me.
You don't like being put on red.
I don't. But they're so smart that they probably have it so that they can just read it and it still shows unread.
Yeah. There's ways to do that.
There is.
I want you to know I read it and I'm working on my reply.
Well, I get it for you. Takes time. You got to get the dictionary out, the thesaurus, and really, you want to craft it.
That's right, man. I got to go out the Grammarly and all that stuff. Yeah.
I get it. Now, Maliek was a person of interest because the police learned Karlyn was planning to divorce him, but initial evidence confirmed he was in South Carolina around the time of the murder. His Netflix account and cell phone activity supported his alibi. And we already said that the alibi kind of falls apart here. So, when you're thinking about Netflix usage, cell phone activity, you could even throw in like browser history, maybe even like an Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah.
Being on and playing a game. I think all of that is good, but does it necessarily mean that the person who owns all of that stuff is the one that's watching it? Or did they just leave their cell phone behind and somebody else made a call or a text or something?
Yeah, or somebody else is watching my Netflix and it's not me, but maybe I gave my password out to somebody.
Yeah, it's possible. So as far as alibis go, I get it. It's pretty good, but is it airtight? And I would say no. I also don't think anymore that like a mom saying that, well, my son was with me all night,
right,
is an airtight alibi.
No.
Because how many times have we seen mothers lie for their sons or their children? It happens. Maliek cried during his interview and said that Karlyn was the love of his life.
Well, that could be true. Doesn't make you a good person. You can still do bad things.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you couldn't be a murderer. Now, it could also mean that he was a great actor.
That is true.
Because we have seen that numerous times.
Right.
People put on a show and they really are good at it. They fool everyone as this grieving wife or husband. Maliek told the police that he forgave Karlyn for her relationship with another soldier before they got married. He also gave the police his bank records, DNA, and permission to search his apartment and car. His neighbor said that his vehicle hadn't left the complex.
So he's pretty confident.
He's confident. He's also very cooperative.
Forthcoming.
Yeah, he's given up DNA and he's saying, hey, feel free to search whatever you want to search. He's acting like a person who's not guilty and has nothing to hide.
And that's what you expect from somebody that's not guilty and has nothing to hide, right? Here's all my stuff. Look through it all. Take my DNA. I'm good.
Yeah.
No problems here.
But I think you'd have to say he was very cooperative, right, with investigators. He gave up his phone, which proved he wasn't at Karlyn's home when she was killed. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier, his cell phone activity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it proves his phone
wasn't
there.
Yeah. Doesn't prove he wasn't there. But Karlyn's family took custody of the baby, and Maliek relocated to Texas to spend more time with his daughter. Now, one of the things that we just talked about that was kind of a revelation was that Maliek told police that Karlyn was having a relationship with another soldier before they got married. Now, they were still together. They just hadn't gotten married yet.
Right.
But he said, you know what? I forgave her.
So he's saying, I was a big person here. I've forgiven her and going ahead and getting married. But they also had to do it just to have it on paper.
Yeah, according to the one person. But, are we now getting into the area of maybe why the relationship wasn't great?
A little bit, I think.
Could that have been the reason? And could we also be looking at the possible motive?
Now, she's not alive to give her side of that story.
Yes, that's a good point. So we only have his account. It would take over a year for the police to make an arrest in Karlyn's case. When investigators took a closer look at Maliek's phone data, they saw that he had been calling and texting a woman named Dolores Delgado, who was Maliek's girlfriend. When they looked into her phone records, they discovered Dolores was at his apartment complex in South Carolina at the time of Karlyn's murder.
Oh, so now we see that he wasn't up on the straight and narrow either.
Yeah, there's a potential that they were both seeing other people. I think he for sure was. Now, he told investigators that Karlyn was as well. But what investigators did was that they traveled to Florida, where Dolores lived, and they confronted her with this information. Dolores admitted to being there, but said she and Maliek were both at the apartment the whole night.
It's easy to get over someone cheating on you when you're cheating on
already
them.
Cheating.
Yeah. They tend to leave things out like that, right? I was the big person here. She was cheating on me, but I let it go. Instead of saying, well, the reason she was cheating on me is because I was cheating on her.
If she was even cheating.
If she was even cheating.
Because we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
But it turned out that Maliek had lied to the police about what he was doing and lied when he said he had not cheated on Karlyn. Because I'm sure that, that was a question that was asked. And all of this put him under heavy suspicion. So he would have been a person of interest right from the beginning.
Sure.
He's the husband, the father of the child. But initially, I think police cooled on him because of his cooperation, his cell phone data, all of this. But when they learned about the girlfriend, I think that changed everything. Investigators also found out that Dolores had recently purchased a .357 revolver, which was the suspected murder weapon.
That's a powerful handgun.
Yeah. .357 is a very powerful round. It also turned out that Maliek had deleted certain texts from his phone, but Dolores still had them. They were discussing gas mileage on the night Karlyn died. Bank records showed that Dolores purchased 2 gas cans before the murder.
So if you're discussing gas mileage and buying gas cans, why would you want to do that instead of stopping at a gas station to get gas?
You mean on your way from South Carolina to murder your wife?
Yeah.
It's because you don't want a financial record at a gas station. You don't want to be caught on surveillance video. You don't want anybody seeing you. You don't want to have to stop.
Right.
If you don't have to. So
and that's a way to do that.
Yeah. You wear a diaper, you pee in a Gatorade bottle. I mean, people have done all sorts of things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you do that just on your trip down here, and we don't even live that far apart. I don't know why, but
it's relaxing.
But killers have done that to try to get somewhere without stopping so that they're not seen or, leave a financial trail. But obviously none of this is looking good, right? You've got the girlfriend. The girlfriend buys a gun, same caliber as the murder weapon. Right. She also buys gas cans right before the murder. On October 6, 2015, 35-year-old Maliek Kearney and 31-year-old Dolores Delgado were arrested in Texas. 2 days earlier, they were indicted by a Maryland federal grand jury for interstate travel to commit domestic violence, resulting in death in connection with the death of Karlyn Ramirez, according to the Baltimore Sun.
And for me, what's frustrating is, why do this? You've only been married for a few weeks. Get divorced. You have a child with her. Of course, you need to make support payments for the child, but outside of that, what else are you going to have?
Maybe some alimony. I don't know, but
a few weeks of marriage, probably not.
But I think you're answering the question. Child support alone. Some of these guys, they don't want to pay anything. And we see it time and time again.
Yeah.
Instead of making a monthly payment, no, I'd rather kill my wife.
Take the risk.
And then I'll get to be with my girlfriend. Maybe I'll get my child too.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't want my child.
Maybe
but
the child will go to her family.
I'll have all my money.
Right.
And I can live the new life that I want to live. It's sickening when you think about it.
It is.
To murder anybody, but over such a reason as to not want to pay whatever hundreds or thousands of dollars it is.
Yeah.
Just, suck it up.
Yeah. You chose to have that baby. That baby's yours.
Be a man and,
Yeah.
and do what you're supposed to do. But no, people want to take the easy way out.
Right.
And for him, the easy way out was allegedly, at this point in the story, murder.
Right.
U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein said, as quoted by the Baltimore Sun, the indictment alleges that Maliek Kearney and Dolores Delgado conspired to murder Karlyn Ramirez. According to the indictment, Maliek traveled from South Carolina to Maryland on August 24th, 2015 to kill Karlyn. On October 18th, 2016, FBI agent Jonathan Schaefer testified that Maliek shot Karlyn on Monday, August 24th. Maliek finished work in the early afternoon of the 24th and then drove to Maryland. He entered Karlyn's home with a spare key and brandished the .357 caliber revolver. Karlyn attempted to calm him down, but told Maliek she didn't want to see him again. So Maliek shot Karlyn 3 times. She was shot at point blank range to reduce the sound. Maliek took off her pants and pulled down her underwear to stage a sexual assault and then put the baby in her arms.
Think about that. He took his own baby and decided, you know what? I just killed my wife, the mother of my child, and I'm just going to allow the baby to cradle her, and I'm going to leave. And I don't know when somebody's going to come by and find this body. So he didn't care about that baby at all.
No, I think that's plain to see. He didn't care about his wife. He didn't care about his baby. But, the assumptions that we made about the staging of the sexual assault were correct.
Yeah.
Obviously, we knew they were. But, you don't want to give everything away. But then he drove 500 miles back to South Carolina so that he would be on time for work the next morning. So what that meant, Gibbs, to back up your point, was that the baby was left alone for almost 8 hours.
Well, the guy is already a piece of shit, but that just makes him a bigger piece of shit.
You got a newborn who you obviously don't care about at all. If you're willing to, put the baby's life at risk.
Yeah.
Obviously, you didn't care about your wife because you shot and killed her.
I'm also thinking, how big were these gas cans that they had to buy so he could travel 500 miles each way? Pretty big.
Well, we don't know what kind of car he had.
Well, that's true. But I'm also thinking of the fumes as you're driving. Because I bought gas before in those cans. And I've had them in my...
They're not airtight.
No. So thinking 500 miles, man, I'm going to feel either pretty good or I'm going to have the windows down the whole time. And who knows what my hair is going to
Maybe he had
like.
them in the trunk.
Still.
And it wasn't coming through as much.
I don't know.
Maybe he had like a little Ford Festiva or, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Or some of our favorite vehicles.
That got, some good gas mileage. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it turned out that he planned his alibi with Doris Delgado. She remained in South Carolina during the murder, but provided Kearney with a car, the murder weapon, and the gasoline cans.
And she had a part in this.
Yeah, according to the authorities, this is what happened. And it sounds like, she was an accomplice. Even the smallest step forward can make a big difference in your financial future. When you open a Chime checking account, you're one step closer to a better financial future with no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Making progress has never been easier. I think we've all been in that position where we've had an overdraft. Well, with Chime, you can overdraft up to $200 with no fees. That's amazing. And they have over 50,000 fee-free ATMs. Make progress towards a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/TCAT. That's chime.com/TCATT. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs. MyPay eligibility requirements apply. Credit limits range from $20 to $500. $2 fee applies to get funds instantly. Crime checking account required. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. True Crime All the Time is sponsored by BetterHelp. Folks, therapy can feel like a big investment, but let's think about the state of your mind. It's just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up really fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save, on average, up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. And you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. I've used the BetterHelp service for years, and I love the fact that, I can connect with a therapist in a comfortable spot in my home on my laptop. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/TCAT today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TCATT.
Hey, listeners, it's Leon Nafok. I'm here to tell you about a brand new series from me and Prologue Projects, an Audible original series called Final Thoughts, Jerry Springer, the story of a television show that changed the world and the man who gave it his name. But did you know that before the Jerry Springer Show made him notorious all over the world, Springer was something else entirely? A respected Midwestern politician, the progressive mayor of a major Rust Belt city, a man many saw as a future leader in Democratic politics. How did this idealistic rising star, with his lofty political ambitions, take a turn in such a radically different direction? You can find the whole series available now on Audible. Just search for Final Thoughts, Jerry Springer on the Audible app, or go to audible.com/Springer.
At the end of the hearing, a federal judge ordered Maliek to be transferred to Maryland to await trial. After the arrest, Dolores' ex-boyfriend called the police and reported that he helped her dispose of a gun in Florida, which he thought could be the missing murder weapon. They had thrown the gun into the water and disposed of other evidence. Okay, so now we got somebody else in the mix, which means that at some point, Dolores called an ex-boyfriend and said, you know what? I need your help. I need to get rid of a gun and some other evidence.
But don't ask questions.
Don't ask any questions. And this guy was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We shared something once. I'll help you out.
Until he hears something on the news.
Right. Why? Why would you even take a chance of getting wrapped up into something, whether you knew what had happened or not? There is such a thing as just saying, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. No.
We literally have no connection.
Right.
We're not boyfriend and girlfriend. We had something at one point. I'll pass on the disposing of murder evidence.
Right.
Potentially.
Call somebody else.
Police divers found the gun, and the FBI was able to restore the serial number and match the gun to Dolores. And it was after this that she agreed to completely cooperate with investigators.
Oh, I'm sure that whoever her attorney was said, hey, you're probably best at this point just to put all the cards on the table.
You're in deep doo-doo.
Yeah.
And it would be in your best interest to cooperate fully. But here again, how many times do we see, in these solved episodes, especially, people think they're so smart.
Oh, they really do.
I've got this plan. I'll get a bunch of gas ahead of time. I won't have to make any stops. She bought the gun. They'll never connect it to me. We'll get rid of it anyway. And the authorities unravel the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, all those shows everybody watches and they think they learn from those shows on how to commit the perfect crime.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who else watches those shows?
The authorities?
Yeah.
Also, those shows are completely wrapped in an hour.
Exactly.
And so you can't go by everything you see on some of that stuff. I mean, Dexter was good, but I'm not saying following Dexter's every move is going to ensure that you're not going to get caught.
Probably not.
On August 8th, 2015, Dolores Delgado pleaded guilty in federal court to interstate travel to commit domestic violence resulting in death. She took a plea deal, so federal prosecutors would not seek the death penalty. And we see that time and time again. When it gets to that point where the investigators are throwing so much evidence in your face that you and probably your attorney are saying, uh-oh, we're in deep trouble. And then on top of it, there's that looming threat of the death penalty. Okay, how much more incentive do you need
Exactly.
to play ball?
At least if you get life, there's a potential for parole down the road, maybe.
Yeah, and you helped out. I'm sure that's taken into account.
Yeah.
You provided evidence and you probably testify against the person. So Dolores admitted providing Maliek with the gun, car, and gas cans. She was living in Florida at that time, but she stayed at his apartment in South Carolina during the murder with his phone and his car, so it appeared as though he never left home. Again, some of this stuff is fairly smart,
Right.
if you think about it.
Sure.
But for me, I always think no matter how smart you think you're being, there's something that is going to get you tripped up. Somebody talking.
Or you deleting your messages off your phone, but forget to tell the other party, hey, delete those off of your phone too, Dolores.
Well, that's kind of my point. Can you think of everything? And my thought is most of the time, no. And thankfully so, or we'd have a lot less solved murders than what we do. Dolores and her unidentified accomplice later dismantled the revolver and tried to erase the serial number. They also disposed of shell casings, Maliek's clothing, and his key to Karlyn's home. I'm assuming this unidentified accomplice was her ex-boyfriend, but they just never named him. I still don't understand what was in it for him.
Maybe he just really loved Dolores.
Maliek Kearney's trial started on July 16, 2018. The case was prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney James Warwick. The defense was led by Quasi Hawks. The prosecutors told the jury that both Maliek and Karlyn were unfaithful to each other during their short marriage. They lived in separate states, and Karlyn had obtained a protective order against her husband in summer 2015. They also told the jury that Maliek planned out the murder when Karlyn tried to leave him. So we talked earlier about, not knowing for sure if what Maliek had said was true, that Karlyn had been unfaithful. The prosecutor said that she had been during the trial.
Yeah, sounds like both of them strayed.
Yes. The prosecution wanted to portray Maliek as verbally and mentally abusive. He didn't want to separate from Karlyn, even though they had both cheated on each other.
I wonder how Dolores felt about that.
Yeah, because she's in this, right, too. Obviously, she must have cared about this guy a great deal.
Yeah.
To go to the lengths that she went to, knowing that he was going to kill his wife. 2 men testified about being involved with Karlyn days before she was killed. Assistant U.S. Attorney Warwick also said Maliek was furious when he learned Karlyn was having an affair. He texted her over 900 times in 2 days. And it was said that these texts range from pleas to threats.
It's a lot of text messages.
Dude, I don't know if I send 900 texts in a year.
Probably not.
I certainly could not send 900 texts over a 2-day period. But what does that show you? A level of anger, obsession, jealousy, kind of all that stuff mixed together that you're just repeatedly texting and texting and texting.
But if you're having an affair, she's having an affair.
Why are you so mad?
Yeah, and why are you trying to keep her? I mean, if you're having an affair with somebody else, clearly
you don't love.
Yeah, you don't want to really be with her anyway.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too.
If you want to win her back, you're not going to win her back by saying, "Yeah, I know I'm sleeping or seeing this other person, but I love you, baby." That's just not the way you would go about that.
Rosanna Rodriguez, Karlyn's sister, testified that Maliek called her about a month before the murder. He said, according to WBAL TV, if my sister could not be with him, she would not be with anyone else. She has to be with me. She's only going to be with me. And man, how many times have we heard that?
Yeah, obsession, man.
It's the same thing. It's along the lines of, if I can't have her, nobody else will. If she's not going to be with me, she's not going to be with anybody else. It's all kind of along the same lines. Yeah. But, to me, and you talked about it, you touched on it, there's an added element here that he has someone else on the side.
Sure.
But yet he's furious that she does.
Right. It's one-sided in his mind.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want.
Sure. But not her.
But not you. You have to be faithful only to me while I'm stepping out on you.
And this other thing about, wanting somebody and not wanting them to have anybody else. Look, if somebody doesn't want you anymore, they don't want you anymore. I wish people could get past that and just move on. We've had many cases in the past. Either it's the wife not wanting to move on, or the husband not wanting to move on, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, whatever. At the end of the day, if somebody doesn't want you, why don't you just move on? By trapping them into the relationship or forcing them to be with you, you think that's going to work out well? Why would you want to be with somebody if they don't want to be with you anyway? What's that do for you?
I get what you're saying, but I think in the minds of some of these individuals, it just is not computing that way.
Yeah.
It's more like, I'm so angry, I'm so furious that I'm going to throw everything away if I can't have this person.
Yeah.
All right. You don't want me. We're all going down, or I'm going to take you out, or whatever you want to say. And it's just such a strange way of thinking.
So it's very selfish.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. There are a lot of people out there, and I get it. You're in love with somebody. Are you really? Because you're cheating on them already, but you want to be with them apparently. But if they don't want to be with you, hey, people meet people all the time.
Sure.
But I don't know why, for some reason, some of these individuals' minds don't work that way. They can't get past it. They can't move on. Now, in contrast, the defense tried to portray Maliek as a loving husband who wanted to keep his family together. The defense argued that he was trying to save the marriage and that Dolores Delgado was the real killer. Hawks presented a Facebook message from Dolores, which she sent after Kearney took a large number of sleeping pills because he was distraught about his situation with Karlyn. Delgado wrote in the message, "The crazy bitch is going to be put out." Now, this was in the Baltimore Sun. Obviously, they omitted the expletive.
Yeah.
But I put it in there.
You did.
Because I think you want to hear it in its entirety.
I think so. Well, I think Dolores did want her out of the picture, but I think so did he.
Yeah.
They worked together.
Yeah, no, I think there was collaboration. I don't think that she was ever going to be the one to kill Karlyn, but I think she knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So this message that she's going to be put out, you can take that a bunch of different ways.
Sure.
I'm taking it as if she knows
what's going down,
what's been discussed. The other thing that I think about is the same thing I tell my girls all the time. Don't put stuff in writing on social media. Even if you think it's a direct message or whatever sliding into someone's DMs means. I don't even understand half the lingo, but just be careful.
Yeah.
The stuff that you think is private
Is not.
It could eventually come out, just like all of this stuff came out.
As we're talking about this story, I'm thinking part of his defense could be that he didn't want to he didn't want to lose her. He didn't want anybody else to have her, and that they can shift it from him to Dolores instead of saying, you both wanted to be together and you wanted her out of the picture, and this is how you went about it.
Well, yeah, but the defense is never going to say that.
No, of course not. So they're coming up with their version
Sure.
to try to make him look innocent.
Well, so at the very least, you have to plant the seed of doubt with the jury, and they're trying to do it by saying, no, it was really Dolores.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, in cahoots a little bit, but it was Dolores who actually killed Karlyn. Prosecutors also showed the jury a meme that Dolores sent Kearney days before the murder that said, "Remember, if we get caught, you're deaf and I don't speak English." So I think all of this is basically showing, the planning. This wasn't like he just struck out that night and drove, to her house to kill her. They had been talking about it, planning it. They knew what was going to happen.
The mileage, the gas cans.
Everything, yeah.
You purchased the gun. I think the one piece they missed was, Dolores, you delete your text messages.
Yes. And maybe Facebook messages and all that. But again, I think even if you delete some of that stuff,
they can find it.
They can figure out a way to pull it. Dolores Delgado testified on July 18th. She said that Maliek knocked on the apartment door before sunrise on the 25th. He was wearing different clothing than what he had left in. Dolores said, as quoted by the Baltimore Sun, he was nervous, standing up, kind of pacing. He had his hands on his head. He said he couldn't believe that he just left her laying there. And I don't doubt that that's true. I don't know that this man had ever murdered someone before. There's no indication that he was a serial killer. Yes, he planned it out, but once it actually happens, doesn't the panic have to set in?
Yeah.
The realization of what you just did, you had 500 miles driving back to think about it and replay it in your mind.
And he says he can't believe he just left her lay there, and your baby too.
And your baby too. Doesn't say anything about the baby, unless he was talking about the baby, but I don't know that he was. Dolores testified that she met Maliek while serving in Iraq in 2007. The affair started before the marriage and continued afterwards. She visited Maliek at Fort Jackson in August 2015. He told her he was going to travel to Maryland to kill his wife if she didn't reconcile with him in 2 weeks. So that's when they began planning out how he would go about traveling without getting caught. She tracked the mileage on her vehicle to help him determine just exactly how much gas he needed for the drive.
But I find it weird that this woman, Dolores, he's telling her, if I can't put this marriage back together, then I'm going to do this. Why would you? He just said he wants to put his marriage back together.
But does that mean he's going to leave Dolores? Because I get the feeling that this guy was, I want it all,
right?
Type of guy.
And she must have been okay with that because she was seeing him before and after his marriage.
Right. I don't think there was any part of this where he was going to reconcile, but not still be with Dolores.
Right. What does that say about Dolores?
Not great things.
Yeah.
But doesn't say great things about either of them. So she allowed him to drive her Nissan Altima because it was less conspicuous than his Jaguar.
That is true.
Nobody sees a Nissan Altima and is like, oh man, did you see that Nissan Altima?
Right. Just kind of blends in with all the other cars.
Yeah. Now a Jaguar, okay, you don't see those all the time.
Especially if it's the older make.
I'm wondering how much money this guy was making in the Army to afford this Jaguar.
Maybe you just like spending money on cars.
Maybe
like that little jaguar thing on the hood, the ornament.
So she purchased gas cans so that he wouldn't be seen stopping at a gas station. We talked about that, right? There's only one reason to do it. Maliek's plan was to travel on back roads and fill up on gas at a spot where he wouldn't be seen. The plan, I hate to say it, but it is fairly solid. He changed into black clothing and wore shoes that were too big, with the reasoning that if he left a footprint at the scene, it wouldn't be his shoe size.
Yeah.
We've seen that
We have.
in a number of stories. Maliek still had a key to Karlyn's apartment, so it would be easy to get in. And obviously that's why when law enforcement got there, they didn't see any signs of forced entry. Well, they wouldn't have because there was none.
Right.
He let himself in using a key. He told Dolores that he would kill Karlyn and her roommate if she was home and make it look like someone broke in and sexually assaulted the women.
I'm guessing the roommate was glad she was not there that night.
Well, like we always talk about, okay, what goes through your mind when all of this information comes out if you're the roommate? That if you had made one different decision and let's say decided to stay home that night, you most likely would have been killed.
Yeah. How much did he have to hate his wife to be able to say he was willing to kill the roommate to make sure this happened?
I don't know. This is a tough story because you use the word hate, but at the same time, he wanted to get back together with her. And for me, it's kind of hard to reconcile those two notions. If you don't get back together with me, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing love anywhere in there.
No.
So why do you even want to reconcile?
Still don't know why they just didn't buy burner phones to communicate all this stuff and why they used their own phones.
Well, you can't think of everything.
Well,
They did think of a lot of things.
they left that
Maybe
one
it was a cost issue.
out. Maybe.
Maybe like you, they didn't want to open their wallet
Yeah.
and spend the 20 or 30 bucks, or I don't know how much a burner phone costs or
It can't
whatever.
be that much.
No, they can't be because people go through them like water.
That's why they call them burner phones.
Burner phones. So he left his phone with Dolores and asked her to send a text and make a call to help establish his alibi. Dolores went through Maliek's phone while he was gone, and she became angry when she found pictures of other women, but still they continued their relationship until they were arrested in Texas.
So she found out he was a player.
And she knew he was a killer.
Yeah.
So to me, there's two angles there. Number one, you're cheating with me on your wife.
Right.
You're cheating with other women on me and your wife. And you just killed your wife. What's going to happen to me if I don't meet your expectations? This is kind of like the whole, you cheat with someone.
Yeah.
That person leaves their spouse for you. But how do they know that you're not going to then cheat on them with somebody else? Because
Right.
you're a known cheater.
Exactly. But then yet she decides to stay with him anyway.
Well, she must have cared about him deeply.
Yeah.
To go through all of this.
It's okay that you were thinking about not leaving her for me and then you ended up killing her. And it's okay that you have this other stuff going on with other women because end of the day, I know you're going to be with me at least one day out of the week.
Dude, I don't know where people's heads are at half the time. I really don't. According to the Baltimore Sun, Dolores testified that she thought Maliek would make up with Karlyn, saying, I believe there was some chance of Karlyn seeing Mr. Kearney and working things out. I told him that he wasn't going to do anything, that everything would be fine. Okay, now I got to call BS on this because then why go out and buy the gun? Why do you need enough gas for the 500-mile drive? I mean, why do you need all that stuff?
Yeah. Why are you keeping his phone and making it look like he's there?
Right.
You know, if he really wanted to reconcile, just go and try to reconcile. If it doesn't work, come on back home. Why you need to go?
Yeah, that seemed like such a strange thing to say. She also testified that she was worried, nervous, scared, and anxious. Okay, yeah, I get that. You're involved in a murder plot.
Sure.
I think anybody would or should be. Prosecutor Warwick asked if she felt guilty. Dolores answered, yes, I could have called her. I could have warned her. I could have told her to leave.
And I could have not bought the gas cans, and I could have not given him my car.
Or bought the gun.
Yeah.
Now that she's probably being honest about. Dolores continued her testimony the next day. She admitted in court that she lied about Kearney's alibi so he wouldn't get in trouble. She said, as quoted by CBS, if he couldn't have his family back together, no man was going to raise his daughter. He was.
Is that how he raises his daughter? By
leaving her
Yeah.
with her dead mother?
Right.
She also talked about how she was upset that he was close with Karlyn's family after the murder. He visited her grave and the family welcomed him after the loss. Dolores said, I was upset. He was playing this role of poor him, a widower, and letting her family comfort him. And these people are strange.
Oh, yeah.
They're upset about these little things in comparison to the murder.
I think she was kind of jealous that the family was doting on him about how he was feeling. You know, he put on the show.
Oh, sure he did.
You know, and I think she kind of got jealous of that attention.
And it was said that Maliek was distraught after the murder, even though he had decided he was going to kill both Karlyn and her roommate if necessary. Now, was he really distraught or was he acting distraught? And those are two different things. I don't really know.
But if you take someone's life and it's not something you're accustomed to, I'm sure it's going to cause you some problems.
He could have been distraught.
Yeah.
But was it for the reasons that everybody thought it was? And my answer is probably no. He told Dolores he wanted to end his life and asked why she didn't stop him. So now he's blaming her for not stopping him to drive to go kill his wife. Dolores testified that Maliek knew Karlyn's superior officer would check on her if she didn't come to work. So he killed her on a workday because he didn't want his daughter left alone or hurt, according to CBS Baltimore.
Yeah, but she was left alone for 8 hours. So, you know, it's hard to swallow that one.
The defense tried to discredit Delgado's testimony. Maliek's defense argued that he came to work in South Carolina on the Monday before the shooting and the Tuesday after. Additionally, DNA was found on Karlyn's body that has never been identified. Well, he did go to work on Monday and Tuesday.
Sure.
That was his plan all along. That was part of his alibi. Now, what do you make of the DNA found on Karlyn's body that's never been identified?
I don't think that would be too uncommon.
Well, it was said that she was seeing a couple of guys, maybe it was theirs. We don't know where it was found, on what, part of her body.
How long it's been on her body.
Yeah, we don't know. But on August 9th, 2018, Maliek Kearney was found guilty of crossing state lines to commit domestic violence resulting in death. On September 7th, Dolores Delgado was sentenced to 17 years in federal prison. Now, 17 years is a lot, but it is a far cry from the death penalty.
Sure is.
And it's a far cry from life in prison with no parole. So you have to figure that, her playing ball and testifying against Maliek earned her a significant reduction in her sentence.
Yeah, to be out by 2035 or sooner, much better than never getting out.
Her attorney, Elizabeth Oyer, told the judge that Dolores was sexually abused as a girl and that once she joined the Army, she was harassed and raped by a superior officer. She then fell in love with Maliek Kearney. Oyer said that Kearney preyed on Dolores's childhood trauma. She felt like she couldn't say no to him. Kearney had influence and control over her for almost 10 years. The judge said, according to the Baltimore Sun, whenever he wanted a girlfriend on the side, he could have her. In some respects, she was horribly used in all of this.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think there's a kernel of truth in that.
Right.
Now, could she have said no?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes, but citing all of these factors pointed out by her defense attorney and the judge, does it mean that she was less likely to be able to say no to Maliek? Possibly.
Yeah, but she still knew right from wrong.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't think they're trying to say she was innocent. I think they're trying to give mitigating factors.
Yeah.
As to why possibly she did what she did.
Certainly will help down the road when it comes time for parole.
Yeah, I would think it would. On November 30th, 2018, Maliek Kearney was sentenced to life without parole by a federal judge, plus 10 years for the use of a firearm in the commission of a crime. He was ordered to pay a little more than $490,000 in restitution to his daughter and Karlyn's mother. Now, where that $490,000 is going to come from, I don't know.
It's a lot of license plates.
First of all, maybe sell that Jaguar.
If he owned it.
If he owned it. Yeah, we don't even know. The judge said the crime was not committed in the heat of the moment. Instead, it was cold-blooded and calculated. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. This wasn't a situation where this guy snapped. He planned it. He thought about it.
Yeah.
He even gave like a time frame type ultimatum. If she doesn't take me back in 2 weeks, I'm going to kill her.
And if her roommate's home, I'll kill her too.
Yes, that is not heat of the moment type stuff. The judge noted that Maliek was involved with other women, including Dolores Delgado when he killed Karlyn. The judge also noted that Maliek had 7 hours to change his mind about the murder while he was driving to Maryland. And that's an interesting notion. Very hard to claim heat of the moment.
Sure.
When it took you 7 hours to get to your wife's place. It wasn't like you came home from work, opened the door, and found her with another man.
Right.
That wouldn't be right, but that would be more heat of the moment.
And we got to remember, he was a very smart individual. So you would think on his drive up there, he could think of the rationale behind what he was thinking of doing and realize it's not the way to go.
Well, there's no doubt he had the time to do that. And, you know, you mentioned he was a smart guy. I do think he was, but I think he'd already made up his mind well in advance. Maliek spoke before he was sentenced. He told Karlyn's family, "I know the pain and heartache that you feel." He added that his love for Karlyn grew stronger every day. And I just don't even know what you make of this if you're her family.
Yeah, I don't know how you can even make that statement, you know? I know the pain and heartache that you feel. No, you don't.
You mean the heartache and pain that you caused us to feel?
Yeah.
And how can you say that, you know, my love for her grew stronger every day right up until the point where I murdered her? Yeah, some of the things that these people say, they blow me away. How they think that, you know, some of this stuff makes sense to actually verbalize. He gave a message to his 5 children. According to CBS, he told them he loved them and said, "I'm sorry I haven't been able to be there for the past 2 years because of these proceedings." And even if you look at that statement, you know, it's not, "I'm sorry I did what I did."
Right.
And that I won't be there for you. "I'm sorry I haven't been there for you because of these proceedings."
Yeah.
There's a distance there. He's distancing himself
From his actions.
and basically blaming it on the fact that he had to be in court. Karlyn's mother spoke in court and asked the judge not to have any mercy in sentencing. She recalled how Maliek came to the funeral and told her, "For all we know, the killer is among us."
Wow.
Now, obviously, we know he was correct.
Yeah. Right next to her.
She didn't know it was him, but Maliek's lawyer told the judge about his redeeming qualities when she asked for a lighter sentence, noting that he served 4 tours of duty in the Army and that he had PTSD from injuries he suffered in Iraq. She also said that he experienced abandonment during his childhood and grew up in foster homes.
None of those are excuse for murder.
No, and a lot of that could be true. And it's admirable that he served 4 tours of duty. Sure. Again, it doesn't excuse what he did. After the sentencing, U.S. Attorney Robert Hur said Maliek Kearney cold-heartedly planned the murder of his wife and placed his 4-month-old baby in her dead arms after shooting her several times at close range. The investigators and prosecutors painstakingly put this case together so that Kearney did not escape justice. This sentence ensures that Kearney will not be able to harm any other women. Hopefully, it will also bring the family of Karlyn Ramirez some peace that Kearney has been brought to justice. Maliek's appeal was denied on December 16th, 2020. Karlyn Ramirez's murder was an unnecessary tragedy that occurred because her husband was too selfish to let her go, to let her file for divorce. He wanted to stay married to Karlyn, but at the same time, he wanted to see not just Dolores, but other women as well.
Yeah, he wanted his cake and the pie and the cookies and all the other stuff.
And he wanted to eat it all.
Yeah.
I think this was a guy who could not handle the thought of Karlyn leaving him, and so he killed her. A judge aptly said that he displayed predatory behavior towards women. And I do think he was a predator in a couple of different ways. Now, I do think to some extent he used this woman, Dolores. Now, she had her own role in it.
Yeah.
But he used her. It sounds like he used other women. I still say that I don't know how he could sit in court and say, my love grew stronger for Karlyn every day, right up until the day that I murdered her. I don't understand that.
It grew every day as I was planning her murder. It grew every day when I was cheating on her with Dolores.
And these other women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is, like you said, I think this was a guy who he just wanted it all. Yeah. He felt like he kind of had it all.
Yeah.
And he didn't want that all to end. And I don't think he wanted to live without Karlyn or allow Karlyn to be with someone else.
Yeah. Well, he's right where he needs to be now.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. But that's it for our story on Maliek Kearney. We got some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Hi, guys. This is Muriel from Maryland. I joined kind of late. I'm only on episode 97, I think. And right now you guys are out with like 360 on the regular true crime all the time. Then after I finish all of those, I'm going to go back and listen to Unsolved. I do have one request. Mike, you're always making fun of Gibby's accents, but I want to hear you do a British and Irish accent so we can compare the two. Okay, well, love the podcast. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Good luck with that one, buddy.
Hello, governor. No, I don't do accents.
Because you can't. British. You always make fun of me saying British.
Because that's the only one that sounds halfway decent. There's a reason why I don't do accents, because I'm terrible at them. You're terrible at them, but you think you're great at them. That's the funny part. And that's what people like.
I am good at them.
I keep thinking that, man, because people enjoy them.
She knows, and she's from Maryland.
What's that got to do with anything?
I just wanted to throw Maryland in
crab cakes and football. That's what we do.
That's right.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. My name is Hannah. I've been a listener of you all since around 2018. I just heard your episode on Thomas Lee Bean. I'm kind of catching up. And the victim's name, me and her share the same last name. And I thought that was neat. It's not a very common name, although mine is spelled with a Y and hers is an I-E. My family always thought that the origin was of Irish descent. But knowing that she's from Scotland, I'm thinking maybe we need to do a little bit more digging. I am African American, so I'm sure that the name isn't of my origin ancestors, but it's always good to know kind of where you come from. I'm Team Mike and Gibby. Thank you guys for all you do, and keep your own time tickets. Bye.
Irish, Scottish. I mean, I got more Irish, you got more Scottish, but they are next door to each other pretty much.
Okay.
You never know.
Just showing off with his geography. No, we love you. We appreciate that voicemail. I do think it's very interesting to do that kind of genealogy stuff, and people learn a lot, and I think sometimes surprised. I did the Ancestry DNA thing one time, and it was nothing like what I thought it was going to turn out to be.
Well,
I can't remember the exact results, but let's just say it was not what I was led to believe by my family.
I mean, mine came back that I was like almost 2% Italiano, you know, so I knew it. I felt it, you know. I knew that I was somewhat
You said
Italiano.
Italiano.
Yeah, me,
Okay.
my Italiano.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think you're what they would call a melting pot.
I don't know.
You are a little bit of everything. That's why you're so good with all the accents from
Yes.
all over the world.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We had one thing in the mailbag,
Yeah.
and it was really cool.
It was.
Betty Steele sent you a specialized Yeti mug
Yeah,
that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
it is cool.
So I'm very happy for you
Yeah,
that you got that.
it's very nice.
It is.
It says Gibby on it.
It does say Gibby.
Yeah.
I kept looking for one that said Ferg on it, but there
It
wasn't
just
one.
says Gibby on it.
Yeah, just Gibby.
You can't use it. It's for
So
me.
I'm in the process of buying my own to match.
That will say Fergie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say Ferg or Fergie. But it is very cool. Very nice.
Thank you.
And I will have one soon. All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike,
And Gibby.
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
How did the internet go from this
You could actually find what you were looking for right away, bang.
to this?
I feel like I'm in hell.
Spoiler alert, it was not an accident. I'm Cory Doctorow, host of Who Broke the Internet from CBC's Understood. In this 4-part series, I'm going to tell you why the internet sucks now, whose fault it is, and my plan to fix it. Find Who Broke the Internet on whatever terrible app you get your podcasts.